please? Do you have to pay something?
At this time, I'd like to call this meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As you can see, we have a full house tonight. So I'm going to ask that you please only speak if you're recognized by the chair, so we can keep things moving orderly. And also, if you'd please, when you speak, announce who you are so that we can write it down. At this time, we'll begin with the Dwelly Farm Conservation Restriction and Agricultural Preservation Restriction. Is Ms. Morrison here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great.
Early arrived.
I don't know if you have any handouts. I sent to Jeff Ferriter.
Yep,
they do. The board has it, yeah.
Let's see, if we can kind of make this simple, I'm going to do my best.
Okay, sure.
In 2011, the town voted to expend $33,000 of CPC funding for this conservation restriction on Dwelly Farm, which had been donated to the North County Land Trust by David Glover. The purpose of the conservation restriction was to give us some management money. We had no money funds to manage the farm. As you know, this farm is on Berry Road. It's in the South Templeton Agricultural District. It's an important part of the town's agricultural heritage. So we're very appreciative that the town supported us and gave us that donation of funds. Since that time, and in connection with that warrant article, which was passed in 2011, we did apply for some state conservation partnership grant funds, which were not awarded. And so at this point in time, knowing that the state isn't going to add anything to that amount, we're prepared to close and convey the conservation restriction to the town. However, in the interim, we were approached by the school building committee asking if we might, it might be possible to use parts of the Dwelly Farm as agricultural mitigation for the use of some state agricultural land at the Templeton Development Center. There hasn't been a real clear, let's say, exchange of information on that, but we are happy to try to help the town in this endeavor. And so one of the things that we want to talk about this evening and present this evening is the possibility of excluding from the conservation restriction 3 acres of fields on Dwelly Farm that could be used for future agricultural mitigation. This is because the state apparently wants a different kind of conservation restriction called an agricultural preservation restriction to conform with their requirements for agricultural mitigation. So looking at the warrant article that was passed in 2011, that said that we needed to convey 66 acres. And in fact, this will actually allow us to do that. There are 69 acres approximately, according to assessor's records, on Dwelly Farm. If we excluded those 3 acres for a future APR, we would still be able to convey that 66 acres to the town in conformance with the town vote in 2011. So that's what we're here to sort of present and feel from the Board of Selectmen as to whether that would be an appropriate way to proceed. We would like to proceed and close by the end of June. We have been working with the Department of Conservation Services, which is required to review every conservation restriction. We are in the process right now of reviewing the conservation restriction with them, and we'll have the conservation restriction for review by the town in about a week. So I guess I'm just presenting that and asking if there are any questions about what I just said, because it is a little bit complex, and also if there are any concerns or comments.
Are there any questions from the board? Yes.
I just want to second what Janet just said. She said it more succinctly than I could ever have possibly said. That the intent is to convey a conservation restriction on 66 acres holding aside the 3 acres of prime state agricultural land. They are simply not part of this restriction. And as we settle with the Commonwealth on a buildable parcel of land for a school site, we may need an agricultural restriction on these 3 acres or more, and they could perform that function for the town at a later date of providing an agricultural restriction on necessary acreage to counter the land on Crow Hill that may be taken for a school site.
Just to add, we would have to come before the Board of Selectmen another time, hopefully in a couple of weeks, to have the Board of Selectmen approve this conservation restriction, which would include a map of what areas are excluded. I did include that in the information that I gave to Jeff. And that would be the completed conservation restriction as it was approved, as it has been approved by the Department of Conservation Services.
And we'd vote a CR in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Do we need a vote at this time?
I was just asking if this scenario appears to be appropriate to the Board of Selectmen. And if it is, then we'll proceed on that basis. And that is basically the exclusion of those 3 acres.
So the state is asking for this agricultural restriction versus a conservation restriction?
It is a distinct type of restriction. And it is, I'm sorry.
But the state is the one asking for us to do this?
Apparently. I have not been in direct contact very much with this.
Okay, so this is 3 acres, so is 3 acres what we're
The answer is we don't know. We don't have the footprint of school land. We don't know how much we have to remediate. We don't know whether the 3 acres is too much, too little, or whether we need to remediate anything. So this is the best path forward because it gives us flexibility. It allows the Dwelly Farm conservation restriction to go into place. It is a courtesy to North County Land Trust to complete the transaction by June 30th, and it simply holds aside the question of the 3 acres. It does not affirm, it does not deny whether the 3 acres is adequate or appropriate. We can go back at any time and preserve it, or not, or it could be added to a conservation restriction if the state tells us vis-a-vis school land that we don't need to preserve any prime farm.
So,
Okay.
And
Yes, ma'am.
so that doesn't make them buildable lots?
not at all.
Oh, no. This is actually, in no way is it buildable lots.
Okay.
I suppose you could say it was, but that is not at all our intention. There's one field is in the middle of the property. The other field does have road frontage, but we have no intention to use any of it for building lots.
Machete.
Yeah, Ken, through you. Did you say that you were going to set aside 3 acres, you said?
Yes, that's all the fields we have right now is 3 acres,
Was that all
3.2.
Was that all they recognized for agricultural land up there, was just 3 acres?
Yes, we had a farm conservation plan done by the Natural Resource Conservation Service, the federal folks out in Holden, and they identified 3.2 acres of current agricultural land. That is fields that are in prime soils. Yes.
Prime soils, okay.
There's
I
other.
that, but I couldn't remember how many acres on it.
Yeah, that's all we have.
So that's all we have
can
up there.
explore.
Well, it is the 3 acres.
That's correct.
Okay, and the only reason why I asked that through the board is that Barbara Hobson, the Department of Agriculture, said that they like to see no less than 5 acres. However, we don't, like Jeff had said, we don't know how many acres we may or may not impact. So really, it's a win-win. If that's all we have to offer, that will be our. That's all we can put on the table if it comes down to that. So yeah. Thanks.
Is this something that we need to vote on tonight?
No,
Okay.
just to be advised that if we can ask that you come back in 2 weeks
Of course.
with the CR, and we
Yep.
will vote it on the evening of the 2 weeks from tonight, whatever the
24th.
24th.
That would be great.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next agenda item is a request from the highway superintendent to transfer $900 from expense to mechanic salary. If you'd like to speak on that. And if I could just remind everyone before you speak to just state your name for purposes of the record.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, my name is Bud Chase, I'm the highway superintendent. And I'm coming before the board tonight to request a transfer from highway expense to the machinery salary expense of $900. My understanding is the procedure would be the board votes on it and then the advisory board would vote on it in this time frame in June. The reason for this, it was a clerical error in preparing the budgets, and due to his union contract, it was a step raise that got miscalculated, and he was a new hire, so
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer of $900 from the highway expense account to the mechanic salary account.
Second.
We'll take a vote. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Wilfred Spring Advisory, you have the form there. It will require the signature of one of the board members
Okay.
when it comes to the advisory board.
Okay.
If
Make
you
sure
can.
we get that signed. Sure.
Thank you.
The next item that we have on our agenda is a review of the special town meeting warrant articles.
Mr. Chairman, if I might explain, this is a draft warrant. The warrant does not close until Wednesday morning at, I'm pretty sure we said 10 a.m., not noon. I double checked, but Wednesday morning. So it is open. The purpose of the discussion this evening is to simply go over the articles, discuss, debate them, determine their merit in terms of being on the warrant. But I'll say a second time, the warrant doesn't close tonight. They're not going to vote this tonight. There will be a very brief meeting Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. at 690 Patriots Road to close and vote the warrant. You're welcome to attend, but I want to assure the town that you're going to be about 95 or 99% certain that whatever the outcome of tonight's discussion, debate, and decision is final. You're welcome to attend Wednesday to verify that fact, but we won't be making last-minute changes. This is merely a procedural requirement of having the warrant open for 14 days. We cannot close it tonight. We technically cannot close it until tomorrow evening about 8 p.m., so we made it Wednesday morning instead, because it must be open for 14 days.
I'll start by reading them, and if we want to, we'll discuss each article after, as there's only 9, if that's okay. That sounds like a good plan. Okay. Excuse me, to either of the constables of the town of Templeton and said county, in the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of the precincts of the town of Templeton, county of Worcester, qualified to vote in elections and town affairs, to meet in the Narragansett Regional Middle School Auditorium, 460 Baldwinville Road, Baldwinville, in said Templeton, on Thursday, June 27th, 2013, at 7 p.m., then and there to act on the following articles. Article 1, to see if the town will vote to amend Article 5 of the special town meeting of October 30th, 1961, in which the town adopted Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8C, as regards creating a conservation commission, to change the words 7 members to 5 members, or to take any other action related thereto, submitted by the Board of Selectmen. Are there any, is there any discussion or questions regarding, yes, so the Conservation Commission, instead of being 7, will be reduced to 5 to assist them in reaching a quorum? Yes?
Randy Brown, 116 Main Street. I just have a question on the beginning. Are we still Worcester County or are we Franklin County?
Worcester County.
We're Worcester County.
All right, because they know they changed us for our representative.
Our representative
Right.
is out of Greenfield. No, we're definitely Worcester County.
Just check.
Yeah.
Is there any other discussion on Article 1? Excuse me. Article 2, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds or otherwise provide a sum of money for the payment of expenses related to the removal of snow and ice from the roads during the winter of 2012-2013, or to take any other action related thereto, submitted by the Board of Selectmen.
Chairman?
Yes.
Through you, Mr. Chase, would you do me a small courtesy of having your office certify, once again, the final amount? I know you did. I have it somewhere. I probably have lost it. Just tomorrow morning, certify. It's $41,000 something, 40,000 something. But I need the exact number. Yeah. Thank you. And that's what we'll be voting on at the special, whatever that number is.
Are there any other questions or discussions regarding that article? Okay. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds or otherwise provide a sum of money for the payment of veterans' benefits for the year ending June 30th, 2013, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the Board of Selectmen. Are there any questions? Veterans' benefits? Yes, sir.
Do you guys know what the sum of money is yet?
$35,000, Randy, is what's recommended. This is because we cut the budget for veterans' benefits this year, 13, the year that we're in. It's underfunded and it's a required payment, so it must be, we can't deficit spend, so it must be funded, and this will bring us to full funding for this year. For the coming year, to answer a question you didn't ask, we funded $60,000 for the coming year. So we shouldn't be back here a year from now voting anything like this.
Yes.
Yes, this article and the previous one, where's the money coming?
Certified free cash, assuming it's certified at the special town meeting.
Free cash is there?
We don't have the final answer yet from the state, but let's say $300,000.
When do you expect to get it certified?
Probably in the next week to 10 days.
And if it doesn't prior to the 25th?
There won't be votes on these articles because there'll be no source of funds.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds or otherwise provide a sum of money for the stabilization fund or take any other action relative thereto, submitted by the Board of Selectmen. Are there any questions or comments regarding that article? Okay. If not, Article 5, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds or otherwise provide a sum of money to determine the potential for performance contracting in the East Templeton Elementary School or take any other action relative thereto, submitted by the Board of Selectmen. Yes, and if I could remind everyone to just state your name for the record.
Dennis O'Brien.
Sure, thanks.
Why are we bringing this up? We just voted this down at the town meeting. Why are we bringing this up again at the special?
If memory serves, and if I'm remembering incorrectly, please correct me. If memory serves me right, we're voting that particular warrant article in relation to the CPAC funds, not in terms of what is being asked to be voted on here. Is that?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Article 6. To see if the town will adopt a new Article LV, Municipal Water Department, Section 1 as follows. Section 1, consistent with Chapter 93 of the Massachusetts Acts of 2000, the Water Department and Light Plant shall be named the Templeton Municipal Light and Water Plant. The Water Department and the Light Plant shall keep separate books of accounts, and the Water Department shall operate as an enterprise fund consistent with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53, F and a half, until changed by law. The manager of the Templeton Municipal Light and Water Plant shall annually, not less than 120 days prior to the expiration of the fiscal year, furnish to the Board of Selectmen a detailed estimate in writing of the appropriations required during the next succeeding fiscal year for the proper exercise and performance of all rights and duties, so the town may vote the same, submitted by the Board of Selectmen. Are there any questions regarding this article? Yes.
Yeah, Randy Brown, I got a question. This is already a law, you're saying, so why don't we have to vote it in as an article?
Well, this is change of...
Right. I believe voting this as a bylaw and formalizing it as a bylaw, it will have to be sent to the Attorney General for approval or not, and we will get clarification for
Doesn't
the
say
issues.
bylaw on it though, anyway.
A new
It
article,
says adopt a new article.
right.
Should say bylaw, you're right.
Okay.
It should say bylaw article.
All right, so we'll put the word bylaw in there. Okay, so when we read the motion, it will say, someone will say the word bylaw.
Yes, sir.
Why just one department, why not the rest of the department?
There's been, well, This particular department falls under the special acts, and there's been, as you are aware, an ongoing debate about who exactly is responsible for what's required and what isn't required. So there are two ways basically to resolve this by someone who has power higher than ours. We can go to court and we can have litigation and a judge can tell us, or we can pass this bylaw article and it goes to the Attorney General, and the Attorney General for free will explain whether or not this is legal and will clarify the issue for us without a charge.
Is it the only department that comes under the 53 F&A?
Is that?
No. Sewer department comes under 53 F&A as
Why
well.
aren't they included in it?
Because they were not part of Chapter 93 Acts of 2000, just the water department was under.
I was addressing the chairman.
Okay.
Okay.
May I answer the question?
Yes, you may.
Oh, thank you. Because the water department was the only enterprise included in Chapter 93 Acts of 2000. The sewer department operates under the town as an enterprise fund under Chapter 53 F&A.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Bob Dennis with the Street Government. I'm just wondering, do you ever ask the DOR if they would give clarification?
The DOR wouldn't be, while they give suggestions and tell us what policies we should, they don't generally act as an arbiter to tell us. They're not a law enforcement agency in the terms that we need for this particular issue. For this kind of resolution, the Attorney General would be the best. Right. Correct. When you ask for the attorney of the day, you're getting generalized advice. It's not something that you get necessarily a written opinion that everybody would be satisfied with. The Attorney General has ranking authority on the issue, so for the sake of getting the most sound and satisfying response regarding what the law says, the highest law enforcement officer in this Commonwealth would probably be the best person to give us that information. Is there anything else? Okay, if not, moving on to Article 7, to see if the town will vote the sum of $469,126 to operate the water department until a special town meeting in the fall of 2013, which sum is to be raised from water receipts or to take any other action relative thereto. Are there any questions regarding this article?
Point of information,
Yes, sure.
that is 1/3 of the requested budget.
I would like to make a comment.
Sure, yes.
Okay. I put this forward as an article in order to give the Attorney General time to make a decision. So if Article 6 is successful and successfully voted at town meeting, the Attorney General isn't going to turn around the next day and render a decision. This town meeting is June 27th. Okay, the new fiscal year starts July 1st. So this will give the water department a budget with which to work until a special town meeting in the fall.
Okay. Are there any other questions or concerns? Okay, if not, Article 8, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to seek special legislation as set forth below, provided, however, that the General Court may make clerical or editorial changes of form only to the bill, unless the Board of Selectmen approves amendments to the bill before enacted by the General Court, and that the Board of Selectmen is hereby authorized to approve amendments which shall be within the scope of the general public objectives of the petition, or take any other action thereon or in relation thereto. An act authorizing the Board of Selectmen in the Town of Templeton to act as Light and Water Commissioners. Section 1. Notwithstanding the provisions of Section 21 of Chapter 41 and Section 56A of Chapter 164 of the general laws, or of any general or special law to the contrary, the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Templeton shall be authorized to act as Light and Water Commissioners and shall exercise all of the powers and duties of the Light and Water Commissioners as set forth in the general laws. Section 2, upon effective date of this action, the terms of the incumbent members of the Light and Water Commission of the Town of Templeton shall be terminated and the elected Light and Water Commission abolished. Section 3, this act shall take effect upon passage. Submitted by the Board of Selectmen. Any questions? Yes.
Tom Jalowiecki. This is the same verbiage that was voted down at the last town meeting, is that correct?
I'm not sure if it's
Well,
Yes.
you know, there's a lot of people in town are dissatisfied with the Light and Water Commission, but according to the vote we took, there's a lot more people that are satisfied. I don't think it's right to keep bringing this back until you get the answer you want. It was voted down, you should leave it alone. And there are other ways to disband the Light Water Commission besides keep bringing this back at town meeting. It's the wrong thing to do.
Yes, Beth.
I'm Beverly Bartolomeo, South Road, Templeton. When the original vote was taken, I do not think personally, it's my opinion, that people understood what was going on. I think that it doesn't cost anything, and it isn't going to hurt to have it voted on again with people, so people can have more information, so they can make an informed decision. I don't think the other decision was informed. People thought we were going to fire all the people in the water department. That is not true. So I think that it's fair to put this forward and get an answer.
Yes.
Robert Columbus. Like was mentioned by Tom, this was brought up at the March 6th special town meeting, voted down overwhelmingly. And the people had all the information they needed to make at that time. I don't know why you personally would vote to put this on after it was overwhelmingly defeated.
Right. Well, as we're doing today, we're not voting on any of the warrant articles today. They're just being put forward for discussion. So we're not voting anything right now regarding this. Yes.
Dennis O'Brien. I'm just upset with all three of you because this was voted down. You know, all three of you know it was voted down in a special town meeting. You shouldn't be putting this on the established. I think it's very, very bad for you, all three of you to put this on.
Okay. Yes.
Bob Columbus again. It says at the bottom, submitted by Board of Selectmen. So did you take a vote to put it forward, or did you just put this together tonight?
No, it wasn't put together tonight.
Did you vote on it at any point?
We haven't voted on these yet. As I've said, these have not been voted on. Any selectman is allowed to put forth an article that they would like added on here, and then we discuss in an open town meeting, and I'm still speaking, and we vote on them at an open town meeting, or an open meeting, which is what's going to happen on Wednesday. So no, we have not voted on these. These are proposals for articles that have not been voted on yet. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Bob Mitchell, Royston Road. I really don't think this would be an issue. I do want to see it voted on, but I don't think we would have to vote on it if we had a pilot program that people understood. At this point, if the Light and Water is not going to provide that information to people like me, then we want to know when are we going to start paying taxes over there, and when are we going to start getting a rate over. And we're not finding that out from it.
Yes.
Dennis, I want to know, you didn't discuss these articles at all, the selectmen?
No, not
You
at all.
haven't even discussed these articles?
No. That's what we're doing now.
Oh, so you haven't even seen this article before?
No, we've seen them because I got a copy of it before the meeting with my packet that has my name on it.
This is the first time you've seen this tonight?
No, we have not discussed them. I'll explain the process. We
can't discuss it.
We have not discussed this. So we voted to open the warrant at our last open town meeting. It was opened, at our last Board of Selectmen meeting, open meeting, we opened the warrant. Anyone who has any warrant articles that they would like to submit until the time it's closed may do so. So we may individually, if we had suggestions, send them to the town administrator, town coordinator, who could put them together into our nice little packet so that we can discuss them. So no, I have not discussed this with anyone here. We are discussing this for the first time. Yes.
Rich Curtis, from an emergency management point of view, right now the electric company works well. We have a problem, they fix it. What expertise does the selectmen have in running that program?
No, I don't. Does anyone want to speak on that in particular? No.
I mean, isn't that going to be a concern that with the selectmen running it and getting rid of the present commission, isn't that going to kind of deteriorate the services that they provide now?
Right. Right. If you're asking me personally, I don't have any specialized knowledge that would make me qualified to run this, and But that's, we're here discussing, so, yes.
Bob Mitchell, I'd just like to point out that I have never, ever seen any of the light and water commissioners in the bucket truck fixing any wiring or taking down any limbs. So I think you guys would probably do the job.
Yes, and then, yes.
I think this is Beverly Bartolomeo. I would worry if I was emergency management if the manager of the water department shut off the water. I mean, just the threat of doing something so stupid would make my eyebrows raise. The commissioners don't run the business. They make decisions. They do not get out and fix the pipes, dig the holes. You do not have to be a rocket scientist. None of them have any more expertise than the guys sitting at that table right there.
Okay, and then we'll try to move that. Yes, sir. Sure.
We've got one more.
Oh, sure.
Beverly's right, Mr. Mitchell's right, other people are right. But what you're doing is looking at the performance of the commissioners and so forth. That's what the discussion is now. My point is, this article was voted down once. Whether or not the people were informed, that's too bad. That's up to them to get the information they need to make a vote. It was voted down, it's dead, it should stay dead. You don't get to keep bringing this back till you get the answer you want to hear. That's not right.
Vote no.
Okay. Is there anything else? Yes, sir. Oh, if I could have quiet, please, so we can hear.
Wolf Evans, 27 Liberty Street. One of the things that bothers me this evening, the chair of the Board of Selectmen said that these articles are submitted by the Board of Selectmen. I was there when you opened up the warrant for the special town meeting. I think more correctly this evening, you as chairperson should be saying not that the board submit these articles, but naming the individual who submitted the articles. Because quite honestly, the board as a whole did not submit the articles.
Right.
So it would seem to be an individual there.
Right.
Because you stated that you didn't see these articles until tonight.
Right.
So
No,
the board can't submit the articles. Individuals should be submitting the articles. Who submitted each article?
Right. The reason that...
Please name them, please.
Well, the reason that will, and actually I didn't get the email, so I'm not sure necessarily who submitted all of them, but the reason that they say submitted by the Board of Selectmen is this is the language that will appear on the actual warrant. So when we vote on them, so when the board votes on them, so if the board does not vote by a majority to put them on the warrant article, they won't be on there on the warrant, so it won't matter what they say. And if they do pass, then even if someone disagrees, there'll still be a majority, so they're from the Board of Selectmen.
To submit the courtesy to the taxpayers the name of the individuals who put the articles, proposed the articles on this warrant.
Sure, is that?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. It's public information, sure. I actually do not know.
Let's say it.
No, I am. Mr. Ritter, do you or whoever has knowledge of who?
I submitted the language for Article 1, for Article 2, for Article 3, for Article 4. So those are all money articles that were submitted just, to appropriate from free cash. The rest of them were submitted by someone else. Julie Farrell submitted some.
It is.
Let's see. Article 6 is the same as the article that was voted down at town meeting, known as...
No, it was passed over.
It was passed over, right?
Passed
Sorry,
over.
it was passed over at town meeting. It was Article 51, I believe, at town meeting. Article 7 is actually a joint effort of, I think, several members of the board, including myself, to extend an olive branch to settle this issue, which we'll hear from, I think, in a few moments. And Article 8 is Selectman Farrell's proposal, which was taken up in a previous special town meeting. Article 9 is Actually, the treasurer and the town coordinator are bringing Article 9 forward. But we can't, so it's the Board of Selectmen.
Yes.
Yeah, Frank Bartholomew, South Road, Templeton. I keep hearing people say the light company's running good. It's not been operating good. It's a disaster over there. Number one, you never should combine electricity and water together. That's a definitely no-no. The best way to do it, like the Red Sox did it, they fired the manager, they fired the coaches, they bring in a new crew. It's time for a new crew over here. Start off brand new again. If these guys are so good, they'll get reelected again. But right now, the job is no good. Look at the windmill, the turbine. Wrong one. Wrong location. No input from the people of Templeton. All done by the gods. It's time for a change.
Okay, thank you. Points taken. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Randy Brown, 116 Main Street. I guess the question I have is on these articles. I know the warrant doesn't close till, I think you said tomorrow, but is there any reason why the board can't approve them tonight? What's here? And if some more come in, you can approve them Wednesday instead of waiting till Wednesday's meeting when you guys are going to be the only ones here, or apparently you're going to discuss them amongst yourselves?
Well, tonight...
It's an open meeting.
It's an open meeting. You're welcome to come Wednesday.
And anyone can come on...
public meeting.
Right, anyone can come on Wednesday. Under the open meeting law, what we have under the agenda is to review a special town meeting warrant articles. So that's what we're doing, is reviewing them. We can't go beyond this scope of, because maybe somebody didn't want to come to the review, they only want to come and see how people vote. So we haven't given them proper warning that we're going to vote them tonight, if it's not on the agenda that we're going to vote them tonight. Okay, one more left, we're almost there. Article 9, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds or otherwise provide a sum of money for the payment of an unpaid prior year bill in the amount of somewhat less than $900, or take any other action relative thereto. Any questions? Yes, sir. That was submitted by the treasurer?
Yeah, it's an unpaid light department bill from a prior year that's the result of the failure of the town treasury to pay in fiscal 12. So it must be voted at a town meeting in order to pay a prior fiscal year.
Any? Yes, sir.
Could you read out it again for me just one more time so I can hear it? I didn't quite hear it. Can you just read that one more time?
There's copies down here.
No, it's all right. There's a couple copies. He's got one, but I just want to hear you read it. Verbiage again. What if nobody else wants? You can read.
I'll read it. I'll read it just because I like the sound of my own voice. So, Article 8, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to seek special legislation as set forth below, provided, however, that the general court may make clerical or editorial changes of form only to the bill, unless the Board of Selectmen approves amendments to the bill before enactment by the general court, and that the Board of Selectmen is hereby authorized to approve amendments which shall be within the scope of the general public objectives of the petition, or take any other action thereon or in relation thereto. An act authorizing the Board of Selectmen in the town of Templeton to act as light and water commissioners. Section 1, notwithstanding the provisions of Section 21 of Chapter 41 and Section 56A of Chapter 164 of the general laws, or of any general or special law to the contrary, the Board of Selectmen of the town of Templeton shall be authorized to act as light and water commissioners and shall exercise all of the powers and duties of a light and water commission as set forth in the general laws. Section 2, upon effective date of this act, the terms of the incumbent members of the Light and Water Commission of the town of Templeton shall be terminated and the elected Light and Water Commission abolished. Section 3, this act shall take effect upon passage submitted by the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you.
Sure, no problem. Okay, we have, yes, sir.
Yes, could you tell our constable what county he's working for again, please?
It's Worcester County.
Thank you. I asked the clerk, she told me Franklin, so I just wanted to make sure the money was right.
Sure. Okay, if at this time we will move on to our discussion of a lack of town meeting appropriation for the water department.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
At the last meeting, I said I would present some information for you because you two as selectmen had not seen the correspondence that had transpired, if I may bring forward the information.
Sure, and this is regarding the town meeting, the lack of the appropriation for the water? Okay, sure.
And if I may, just go through that so that people understand what was presented.
Sure.
If I'm allowed.
Yeah, sure. If I can just speak kind of on what the general topic is that we're discussing here. And I would like to remind everyone to please only speak if you are recognized by the chair, just to try to keep things going in an orderly and non-chaotic fashion. So what we're meeting now to discuss is the problem or the situation that at town meeting, our legislative body, which is the people that show up to the town meeting, voted down the water budget. So there is currently no appropriation for the water department starting July 1st of this year to pay their bills. So we are trying to come to a resolution. That's why we've invited members of the water department to be here to speak on this issue, to see if we can come to some kind of resolution, as we do have the special town meeting that is approaching in a few weeks, so that we still have an opportunity to resolve this before the July 1st changeover to fiscal year 2014. So I'll recognize.
Thank you. What you have before you is first of all, a summary of attachments in the book. Back in, because we are basically a new advisory board, we had asked the water department for budgets for 12 and 13, which were detailed budgets that we received last August. Along with that's items 6 and 7. There's also in there is the reasons the advisory board did not approve the water budget. And there is also the time frame of requests of detailed water budget, starting February 1st. February 11th, the summary sheet submitted shows shown on the warrant article. It only listed 20 items. March 11th, the water department resubmitted the salary broken out by functions. The bonds were expanded, additional detail. Account numbers 631 and 634 were missing. Account 108 was added. Account 667 was added. Other changes were also noted, and that only had 44 items. Typically, in the budgets that we had received in 12 and 13, the amount of entries were 65 entries for those detailed budgets. On March 24th, the advisory board took the FY13 budget sheet received in August and put them on the town budget sheet and added the FY14 information submitted on 11. So we could try to make a comparison, and I'll talk a little bit more in detail. In addition to that, item 8 is an email string with attachments and requests for more detailed budgets to be added to attachment 5. You'll also see in there the Acts 2000, Chapter 93, were highlighted, which shows that we see it as an enterprise because it says separate accounts for light and water, but it calls it as an enterprise. And also Mass General Law 44, Section 53F&1/2, also highlighted in the section that said we should get the budgets 120 days before. And there's other articles in portions of that I'll speak to a little later on. In addition, you'll see the FY12 salary report for the light and water and the hourly rates. As far as the time frame that was submitted, early February, initial request for the detailed budget was made at the Templeton Light and Water meeting with the commissioners. On February 11th, the budget sheet, the summary budget sheet was sent to the town coordinator. That's attachment number 3. On February 14th, I contacted the general manager by phone to request a detailed budget. The general manager indicated it would be sent in 2 weeks. The next advisory board meeting was scheduled for February 27th, so I indicated that we would like it before that meeting so that the advisory board could end up looking at it. Also requested that the detailed budget should be included in the FY14 warrant article and the annual town report. On March 3rd, email to the general manager detailing requests up until that date. Just basically reiterating all the steps that we had made up to there. And that this was the third request, making for a detailed budget, since we couldn't make any details as compared to the previous years, and we were trying to take and reconciliate that. And we suggested it also, again, suggested it was at the town report and also at the annual town meeting warrant. On March 4th, the general manager indicated his Excel template file could not be located. On March 11th, a resubmission of the water budget was received showing a different amount than the February 11th budget. On March 24th, the advisory board email stated our budget is not in the same format and was difficult for us to compare with the past year's budgets. March 11th, the budget entry on the town budget, we took the March 11th budget and entered it on the town budget sheets along with the past years for FY 11, 12, and 13, which we had gotten off of the FY 13 budget that was provided by the general manager. The same budget sheet was sent out by the coordinator for all departments last fall and was also sent to the water general manager and superintendent. On March 25th, the general manager stated that the February 11th budget approved by the commission on March 12th meeting with no changes. He also stated in that email that he would amend the attached spreadsheet and email it back as soon as possible. And the reasons that we did not is pretty well the same reasons that we ended up talking at the town meeting. It was about 7 weeks and we had not received any information. In addition, we saw that there was a $60,000 to $65,000 loss that should have been handled under Mass General Law 44, Section 53 and a half, where such loss should end up being included on the succeeding fiscal year budget. Instead, the commission voted to a service charge, doubling the rate for the quarter from $28 to $56. There's some additional information, but right there, I'll stop right there. Sure. If you have any additional questions, you'll notice that I highlighted in the email string later on as much as I could so that you could follow that particular string.
Okay, thank you very much. And the issue, as I understand it, which I kind of already alluded to, is we have been advised, and counsel's here. Yes, there is. We've been advised by counsel that we can, as the Board of Selectmen, should not, because the town has not appropriated any funds to be paid, to be used to pay the bills of the water department at this current time, that we cannot legally sign those warrants as they come through. Is that a pretty good summation of what's, okay. So we're here now, as I said, to try to resolve that issue. I haven't heard from them, but I'm assuming the water department has a contrary opinion. So if someone would like to speak on that issue, if that's okay, I'll recognize. Sure.
Mr. Chair,
sure.
if I could please be recognized. Would you like me to?
Sure. And if you could just state your name for the record as well.
My name is Attorney Jack Ferriter. I work with the firm of the Ferriter Law Firm. And I would like to point out a couple of things. That the town meeting adopted legislation that I drafted in the year 2000, which essentially merged the water department, as I was told back then, was in very tough financial shape. And so the water department was merged out of Chapter 44 and into Chapter 164, which is where the light department operates. And so at that point, the budget, according to the Supreme Court of Massachusetts, the budget of the water department was to be treated the same as the budget of the light department, which meant that it would be approved by the board of the light and water department. So there would be no more control by the select board over the water department budget, and in fact, no more control by town meeting. Now, why the town meeting has continued to look at the water department, I believe to be in error. And what is happening, because there's a vote right now to not approve the budget, the light and water department is going to have to, and so is the town, is going to have to incur legal fees while the courts discuss and resolve this issue. Because according to the legislation that was drafted and adopted by the legislature in Boston in 2000, the Light and Water Department operate under Chapter 164, which is completely different. If you look at the legislation from the year 2000, and I have a copy here if anybody would like to see it, the only chapter, it says that notwithstanding any special law, there's hereby established in the town of Templeton a water department under the jurisdiction of the light department. And effective with this, the light and water department shall have all the powers contained in Chapter 164. Now, the advisory committee did mention, and it does say, the books shall be kept separate. And it says that the water plant shall operate as an enterprise fund, but it makes absolutely no mention of Chapter 44 or Section 53 F.5. So while it needs to operate as an enterprise, meaning that it can't use tax dollars like it used to use your tax dollars. So people who are on a private well, their tax dollars went to subsidize water for everyone else. And as I understand it today, your sewer department uses tax dollars, a significant amount of tax dollars. And so anyone who's on a septic system today is subsidizing everyone else who's on town sewer. So that's why, back in 2000, the water department budget was merged into, to quote, it became under the jurisdiction of the light plant. It did not say under the jurisdiction of the Board of Selectmen. It did not say under the jurisdiction of town meeting. It said under the jurisdiction of the Templeton Municipal Light Plant. So that's where we come into this budget conundrum. And so effectively, what your Board of Selectmen, by adopting the position that says the town meeting must approve the budget of the water department, your Board of Selectmen is essentially saying that as of July 1st, anyone on town water is going to be shut off, unless there's a lawsuit to determine the answer. So we're here tonight. We've given the water department, light and water department is here tonight, has given the advisory board everything they've asked for. The budget is $1.413 million. The only change, and that I believe is in your books on top, is the most recent submission. It's purely advisory. It does not have to be adopted. But the select board has taken the position, and it's because they're getting advice from one lawyer, and someone's getting advice from a different lawyer, and that's why they have courts. It's because lawyers don't always agree. So your select board is not doing anything wrong. The select board is listening to their lawyer, and your lawyer, the select board's lawyer, didn't do anything wrong. But there's a whole hullabaloo that's blown up because this legislation is not being followed. This legislation says that the water department is merged underneath the light department and operates under Chapter 164. But because light and water are sister departments, they are providing the budget, they have provided the budget to the advisory board, and happy to answer. Do you have a budget, sir, that says $1.413 million?
I have two budgets. The first one.
I have three of them. I I'm saying the most.
Right, I have 3 of them also. I have the first one,
Sir,
which,
I asked you a question.
Oh, sorry, if you could direct, if you
You're
could,
running the meeting.
yeah, if you
Yeah.
could ask
Thank you.
questions to the,
Yes, I'll ask you folks then. Do you have a budget in the binders that says 1.413 million?
is there a budget that says?
Yes.
Okay.
that would be under the,
So that is the one that has been approved, and that is the one that the Light and Water Department would love to operate under and believes that it can operate under.
And, Ms. Farrell?
Well, I believe the budget that was voted at town meeting was 1.407 million. That was what was submitted on town meeting floor.
That's correct, and
Okay.
because of additional questions from the advisory committee, that budget has changed. Essentially, there's been added legal fees, because there's going to be, there is, and there's going to be additional legal fees for the Board of Selectmen in the town as well.
And I'd like to follow up with the question as well. Well, right now, there is no budget for the water department because the town meeting didn't appropriate the money. That's our position as selectmen.
Correct.
To go back to Chapter 93, Acts of 2000, there are 3 words that you left off under Section 1. I'll read the last sentence. The books and accounts of the light plant and water plant shall be kept separate, and the water plant shall operate as an enterprise fund until changed by law. What enterprise fund law is there? Is there enterprise fund law within Chapter 164?
It doesn't say enterprise law, it says enterprise fund.
It says,
So
what is the enterprise fund law? What is the law that governs enterprise funds?
An enterprise fund is there's a separate Chapter 44 enterprise fund.
Yes.
And there is, in general, an enterprise fund that says that you can only spend money that you raise through that department. Once again, like your sewer department today spends tax dollars, not just money that's raised from sewer fees. So back in 2000, the water department went from spending tax dollars to spending just water revenues. And so that's why it's an enterprise, is because it can only spend money that it raises. It can't spend tax dollars.
Right. But the sewer department is also appropriated at town meeting. They have a budget that was appropriated at town meeting.
Yes, but with tax dollars. Yes.
With also their own revenue.
And they weren't merged into the light department under Chapter 164.
Right, so talking about the sewer department in relation to this discussion probably is immaterial at best.
Oh, I think it's very relevant to the way the water department was run prior to Chapter 93 of the Acts of 2000.
Sure. My other question is, if we as selectmen have no, and town meeting has no say, everything that we say is non-binding, doesn't matter, why do we as the Board of Selectmen have to sign off on payroll and vendor warrants for the light department, which is 164?
Well,
why do we have to do that? We're required to do that.
You are, because under 164, it says that a town that has an auditor, which you're essentially playing the auditor's function under 164, that you can refuse, that the board itself, not one member, but a majority of the board could prevent a warrant from being paid if it was excessive or unlawful.
Sorry to cut you off, but how would you define excessive? I can't think of a better way than it hasn't been appropriated. And if you'll allow me, Ms. Farrell, if I can piggyback on.
Go right ahead.
I have no desire to run the water department or to have to come in on my ways to work to go through all of this isn't like some hobby that I'm trying to have, okay? How I look at this is we've done things a certain way for a number of years. Whether that was incorrect or correct, for years, the budgets have been submitted, we put them on the warrant, they've been voted at town meeting, and then every week when the bills come in, we at Board of Selectmen have to come in and we have to sign those. In order for me to defend myself, if a townsperson, a taxpayer says, you should be paying those, we didn't authorize, you don't have the authority to pay, in order to defend against that, I would have to adopt what I'm believing your argument to be, is that we have been doing it this way for years for no real purpose. And I feel that that is a harder argument, just passing a sniff test to adopt, over we do it this way because the law requires us to do it this way. So that's why I'm not comfortable with signing these personally, is that I don't feel that I don't have a deep opinion one way or another, but the issue is that we've done it for a certain number of years, so before I'm going to change and do it in a different way, I feel that I need to have the legal authority to do that. So if I do not have, in particular, our counsel telling us that I have the authority to do that, the Attorney General's office, or like you said, it would be much more expensive, but a judge, someone who has more authority than I do, tell me to sign that, and I am completely fine with signing it. That's where, so if I could have a compelling legal argument, and I'm sure, a legal argument that I would feel safe if I get sued for signing those, even though they're excessive. I'll put it that way.
That's how I make my money, is keeping people out of court and from getting sued. So while I understand your position, I think that you have an awful lot of cover, or an awful lot of protection, because the only law that's mentioned in Chapter 93 of the Acts of 2000 is Chapter 164. There is no mention